Hello, everybody. Welcome to More Political Excess. Today, I just want to talk a little bit about ideological purity as it relates to politics. Now, for me, I hear ideological purity, and I usually think take any issue, wedge issue usually, abortion, guns, and if you don't have a certain view, then the broader political party or affiliation will not consider you one of their own. And this always made such little sense to me because there are so many issues out there and there's so much nuance and context to each issue that there's invariably going to be people arriving at different outcomes. Now, whether they feel comfortable sharing those outcomes is another thing, but to have a single view you must hold to be accepted by a broader group or in political party in this case, it's counterproductive because if you agree with somebody on 95, 90, even only 60% of the time, I would think you would want that person on your side who's going to support you well over half of the time. And if you disagree about a critical issue or two or three things, then you can deal with that when it comes up. But there's no reason that you should not be able to still line up on the many things that you do technically line up on. And it almost seems like it's spite at that point. Some people's motivations, they could be spite, but if they already agree with you in the majority of other issues, I don't think it's spite. I think that people have different backgrounds, different personalities, different experiences in life, and it's all going to amount to having different views. And there's usually two main political parties, and sometimes each person and their views do not fit neatly into one of those two parties, especially based on the state, the locality, the region, or the different country, even. So I personally find it much more appealing to say I agree with somebody 60, 70% of the time overall, but hey, I disagree with them on three or four things. That just makes sense, and it seems like that's the only way it can go. Because when we start getting too conformist into these tribal boxes, where if you're on this one team, these are all the things you support, no questions asked, and these are all the things you're against, no questions asked. That seems robotic to me, and it seems like it's more of a cult type thing, and it seems like some sort of gatekeeping where you're not allowed to actually step over the line and share anything that's individual or unique or that you came to on your own. So anyway, you hear about this a lot in modern politics, and I know a lot of it does get played up in the media, and the extremes on both sides are, I think, probably the biggest culprits of this, because the fringes, they're the most animated, the most emotional, the most coordinated, the loudest voices, and they do tend to drown out the people who are a couple steps away from them. But I still think overall, ideological purity, it doesn't really help anybody because there's so many issues out there, so many facets to consider. If we have different views on certain things, we have different views. We can always try to debate, always try to convince, or we can just hold our views and keep them to ourselves. Either way. But to act like somebody else cannot have a heterodox view or a view outside the norm, that to me seems antithetical to what real diversity is all about. Different views. Because most of these views are complicated. They're not somebody advocating for, legal rape or anything like that. And obviously, if there are some views so extreme, like somebody does run on that, of course, the extreme total outlier fringes that are usually just trying to troll everybody or make a name for themselves, that stuff you don't have to take seriously. I just ignore it. But the vast majority of stuff is not people just trying to troll everybody. And I, for one, find it actually refreshing if I look at a typical, let's say, Republican, and they have one view at least that aligns with the other side, or if I look at a Democrat and they say, hey, they have this view that the Republicans like. On some level, that has to be refreshing to see people that are not locked into these boxes. Anyway, that's just a little bit of a rant on this Memorial Day weekend about ideological purity. If you have any thoughts about this, let me know down below. And if you enjoy this content, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.